Alright guys, welcome to this video on the E36. Did I already introduce them this morning? I think I might have. Alright, never mind, ignore that. Alberto and Johan are gone. They've got some stuff to do this weekend, so they might not be with us for the next day or two. So I'm going to start focusing on the stuff that I can focus on. Unfortunately, I'm not a fabricator, so I can't finish up the intercooler piping or the downpipe exhaust stuff. So I'm going to start cutting, grinding, fitting stuff, and doing whatever I can to get this build a little bit farther down. So one thing I did mention to you guys, Chase Bays does offer a service to have the remote fill mounted already to the radiator. We weren't sure if we wanted to do that there or not. In retrospect, I wish I had them do it, but I'll have Johan or Alberto weld this to the actual radiator. It'll go here, and I made a little marking of the space that I need to be able to remove the cap with this rad support still in place. So I'm gonna do some grinding on this, and then from there, we're just gonna keep chugging stuff out. So one thing that I was trying to pay careful attention to, look, it looks fine like that, right? But it's different when you push it down and turn it.
Right.
So it's gonna be kind of tricky to do in there, but once it's welded, it should be easier. If I've got enough room, hopefully be able to. I might need to take up a little more off that corner. Be able to comfortably get it out. Look good on this side, but here maybe I'll just take that edge and kind of continue that with the grinder.
Yeah.
It'll be easier to make that less sharp too.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be cut. The interior is going to be painted. The bay will probably be painted at some point down the road. But I just want to kind of go through like we built the S15, right? Like the whole car built and then take it apart for paint. So you're not scratching paint, fumbling around, having to weld to stuff that's already painted.
Right.
So just a quick test fit. Looks good like that. Then we remove the cap. Be a little easier once it's mounted. And then we have plenty of room to be able to just moving on. Kind of a game changer. The creepy cameraman actually taught me a tip that came in handy here. I guess he would normally use like thread locker on the end of a bolt for marking holes and stuff, because I'm in a kind of tricky scenario where I can't really mark from the inside for figuring out where to drill the hole for the seat bracket. So what he told me to do is to take a bolt, so it's got a little mark on it, so that way when you push this in, you'll know right where to drill the hole. Perfect.
Yeah, there you go. Tips from the creepy cameraman.
Tips from the creepy cameraman. Alright, so what I've spent the past few hours on is something that shouldn't be that difficult, but it's difficult for two reasons. One, I'll show you. I don't know if we've covered this. Oh, by the way, I mounted the seat. Look, I don't remember if we filmed that. Did we film that?
A little bit of it, yeah.
But anyway, the trans tunnel on this car, it was very, very damaged. And when I got the car, I didn't realize it, but when we pulled the carpet out, the trans tunnel had like big gouges and cuts in it. I guess the drive shaft broke on one of the previous owners, slapped around, and basically punctured holes in the trans tunnel. So Johan had to weld that piece on that Bell Raceworks made for us, just to keep the cabin safe. But because of that, the whole trans tunnel is slightly off and crooked. So this really, really rad shifter plate that I got from Sicky, it's basically a plate, not shifter plate, but a handbrake mount. So it'll bolt to the trans tunnel, and then the handbrake will mount to this. Supposed to be a very, very simple install, but because of that plate, it made it a little bit more difficult. Also, I have this really nice shifter from Click Tuning that feels really good, but again, because of that whole situation in there, I had to grind out a little bit underneath. This billet plate was not the easiest thing to grind into, but I had to do that so that this would sit flush. And then, because of the fact that I have an adapter plate on the trans that spaces a little bit farther back, the shifter doesn't sit where it needs to. So I had this big gaping hole, and for that hole is what I made our little friend that I showed you, who's missing. Where'd he go?
I don't know. I think he ran away.
Friend.
Adam called him Doopy, so he's our friend.
Mike, it was like, what are you going to name him? I said, Doopy. Looks like a doopy. So where the shifter needs to mount in order for it to be centered when the car is in neutral, slightly offset, slightly back, so there's this gaping hole. Now, especially once the shifter was there, it looked very, very bad. So that's where doopy comes into play. And doopy will sit right down like that.
Oh man, Doopy.
Yep, and then shifter will sit on top of doopy. And the handbrake bracket will sit on top of doopy.
Look at that.
And then we'll keep the cabin sealed. In drift cars, it's really important to keep the cabin sealed, not just for like fires and stuff, but all the smoke will find any possible hole anywhere in the cabin and it'll just suck right in. So we've got a lot of sealing off to do in this car. But this is one area that I've been focusing on. And now Mike's gonna help me blast some screws in this. And then this, after hours, days, years of hard work and fabrication.
I'm getting old.
Yeah, Mike's been starving. Mike, apparently you need to feed the filmer. I didn't know that. That wasn't in the memo.
That's what's a bolt in.
That wasn't Seating position's good, but just to show you, shifter, it was like perfect, and now it's like slightly off center, and it's driving me nuts. I'm gonna end up redoing it, but for now, it's good. It's got adjustable linkage, so you can like either lengthen it or shorten it. Right now I have it like probably in the middle, and it feels really good. Like, I mean, we'll see how it shifts at RPM. I've heard the ZF boxes are really good, and then the sticky handbrake on its mount kind of has some room for adjustability, so I can angle it however I want. But I'm pretty happy with, I like to have the handbrake real close to the steering wheel. Since I only drive with the handbrake, every transition handbrake, I could not do a lap without the handbrake. Handbrake is the best thing in the world for drifting. I hope more people start using the handbrake. Yeah, so it's super close. I could just be like, deke, drive, shift, every corner, handbrake, every corner, handbrake, shift, drive. Make sure to slow down a lot, and then just handbrake. That's drifting.
Yeah.
We're gonna go get pizza now, I think. Can we go get pizza, Mike? Is that okay?
Yes.
I'm gonna go for pizza.
Pizza time.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. Today, first thing we're gonna do, I gotta fit these fiberglass doors. I got some sick fiberglass doors from Click Tuning, and I need them to go get painted. In an ideal world, the cage would have been built around the doors, but we didn't have them when the car got caged. So I'm just gonna have to do some fiberglass trimming so I can get these to fit. Just need to trim, I think, a little bit on the bottom, and then they should just pop right in. So I'm gonna make some markings, get covered in fiberglass, and then do some other stuff on the car. My nose dripping, Mike. Do you see that?
Maybe. Let's zoom on in here.
I wore a fiberglass mask. I got the fiberglass virus. All right, I'm not doing this anymore. It's dark. I don't feel like it. I'm miserable. It fits really well, but I just need to grind a lot because of the cage. I still have to like fit all the other door stuff, but I'm kind of over it for tonight. But it's a car with doors. What do you think?
It looks good. The fitment's really nice.
Yeah, the finish is pretty good too, where it should be not too hard to paint. I wanted to do this that way I could get the stuff to paint sooner, but I just don't feel like doing this tonight because it doesn't feel very productive. So we're gonna do suspension stuff. And look, we have a special guest back. Hey, doing live music recording for us.
It was about time.
Bring your amp.
Do you want me to go get it? I mean, I'm 10 minutes away. I got you. You know I got you.
We'll plug in some speakers here. We're good.
Bet.
So I'm in with the homies from SLR. They're actually pretty local to here, and I'm gonna be running an SLR kit for Angle on the E36. Now, I've driven a lot of drift cars, and I will say, I don't know if it's a chassis thing, I don't know if it's an SLR thing. My favorite cars that I've ever driven are SLR E36s. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the way that the chassis and everything with the E36 is. But this kit just feels good. Some kits feel weird, like Wisefab feels weird. Cut knuckles on an S chassis feel good. I feel like this feels like cut knuckles on an S chassis, but has more like Wisefab characteristics where it's fast in drift and just works really well, is like really sick quality, but feels like a natural drifting stock chassis. So it's been a while since I've driven an SLR car, and I've never had one that I've actually been able to set up myself, but I'm excited to do it. It looks pretty simple. I don't know. I thought that was going to be simple cutting those fiberglass doors, and that sucked.
Fiberglass always sucks.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm excited. One thing that I really like, this is their like thing, that candy purple. Wisefab's thing is spray paint blue. I hate it so much. You know what I'm talking about, Mike?
Yeah.
It's like the worst blue. Even like my Wisefab on my S15, I powder coated gray because I couldn't stand it. This purple though is sick. Step one, inner ball joint shank. I struggled a little bit on the other side. What I ended up doing, you have a hard time with this nut up top because it wants to just spin the whole thing. So I actually blasted the nut down below. That way I had something to hold it on, and then I was able to tighten the top and then blast the bottom one out. So I don't know SLR if this is the right way to do it. If I'm gonna have people tell me, yeah, you did it wrong. So then once that's snug up top, I can then just snug it here. The bottom won't spin, and then I can just blast the bottom off. I'm supposed to use a torque wrench for it, but I don't have a torque wrench. Well, I do have a torque wrench, but I can't fit one up here because of the 1Jz engine mounts. Really, Mike? Really? Yeah, you had to do it to me. Now I gotta go change my shirt.
Well, one of us is gonna have to change.
Alright, so the goal today is to get the car started. The whole intercooler fabrication and the like downpipe exhaust stuff isn't really necessary at the moment. I just want to make sure the car runs and that everything is going to work on it. So the first thing to tackle for that is to make sure it has fueling and then worry about the ECU stuff. So Johan already started on the fueling stuff. We're going to be doing -6 lines through the whole car. And what's kind of cool is you're able to reuse the actual factory little clips for the line. And then you kind of do the same thing underneath the car as well. And then would you say you're just going to do like kind of some fittings here just to connect the two?
Right, just so you could have
Remove it?
Right.
Yeah.
Remove it in place and be easier to service if we have to service it. So.
It's really cool though that it just fits like in the actual factory location.
There was some rubber grommets.
Uh-huh.
Once I removed those, that line fit perfectly in there. So.
And then this fuel filter right here seems like a pretty rad location too. So same D-Works fuel filter that we run on all the other cars. Stainless inside, and they're really easy to service and just like clean out. Yeah, that's rad. The way that the SLR kit's designed, rather than a whole new knuckle like on an S chassis or something, it's kind of like a knuckle adapter. So this will bolt on here. It lowers the tie rod pickup point, which I think would help with bump steer, right? Mm-hmm. So when the car is lowered, it'll kind of like raise up, and usually you'll get a weird angle with the tie rods, and you bump and then weird stuff happens. So this drops it down a little bit, but the most important thing is it changes the tie rod pickup point from being up here in front to back a little bit. So with the same amount of movement, you're a little bit closer to the point of rotation. So the same amount of movement in the steering wheel will translate to a little bit more movement in the front end of the car. So this will just basically bolt right here, and that's it. All right, so one really important thing when you're installing this setup on the knuckle is to make sure that the shank's actually installed in the knuckle, because you can like tighten it from the bottom and then it wouldn't all the way fully be pressed in. I think this is kind of like a similar situation on S chassis when you do it on those as well. So the trick that I basically did on the other one, like I said, we want to get this up in here. So what I did on the other one, you're gonna like kind of slide it up in there, put the nut on, but if you try to tighten it, it's gonna spin the whole thing. So what I actually did on the bottom, I took off the spacers, and since you have 2 nuts, one from each side, you can basically double nut this on the bottom, and then prevent it from spinning so you can make sure the shank gets all the way installed properly. Use the impact to get them started. In theory, I guess we could bottom out the threads and make it the same thing, but that's kind of sketchy, so the double nut thing, I like a little bit better. And then once the shank's in there, you can just tighten it from up here and it won't spin. We should be able to just blast these off. Alright, so I am going to be running the SLR Ultra Kit, and for maximum clearance, 17 by 8 is the way to go. You can get away with 18s, but 17 will get you a little bit better tire on it. So I'm going to try 235 on an 8. It's probably not going to have much stretch and be kind of a flat sidewall. This is a TE for my Evo. 17 by 8 wheels I don't really have laying around, and I didn't want to go and buy anything right off the bat. So Tommy shipped these down from Connecticut. They're like the OG Evo wheels when I got it. So we'll have TEs in the front, and in the back probably the CR Kais. So I'm gonna mount some tires on these and see where we stand. Since the plan is to start the car today, we want to figure out what we had for sensors and everything. This car is going to be on an ECU Master EMU Black. ECU Master is a sponsor of mine, and you guys know I have their ECUs on a lot of builds. So we've got the EMU Black right in here, all nice and pretty. And then we've actually got 2 different adapter harnesses, because originally I thought I needed the 1J VVTi one, but then I realized because that car has the drive-by-wire throttle, we'll actually need a 2J VVTi one. So we got that. We were just checking all that stuff out and figuring what we had for sensors. We're going to be running pressure sensor for the fuel pressure, so we'll have that running to the ECU. We've got their data logger. I believe I'm going to use this temp sensor for oil temp, boost control stuff, wideband, IAT. That's about it. Got some candy from the homies. Or ECU Master. Always appreciate the candy. Johan's going to get the fuel pressure stuff set up since he's doing the fuel stuff right now, and I'm going to unbox suspension. I was thinking, Mike, I was like, man, what kind of coilover should I put on this build? And I was really thinking, like, what brand would make them up? And I was like, yeah, BC.
There's really no competition there.
How didn't I think of the fact that we should put BCs on this build? So we've actually got a very cool set of coilovers in this box right here. Casual reminder that we at LZMFG are an authorized BC dealer, and we do sell quite a bit of coilovers and can help you spec out a custom set. This set right here is custom, but I'm actually not allowed to share with you guys the exact setup details, nor can I sell them, because they may or may not be the Chelsea DeNofa special.
Oh my god.
That's special right here. This is no one even has these stickers. Like, Chelsea doesn't even have these stickers with his face on them. So
that is amazing.
Anyway, these special sauce, right? Special valving, special spring rates, special shocks. This is the jam. I'm not allowed to sell these to you, but I can sell you coilovers for your other cars if you want. Link in the description. So anyway, I'm gonna unbox these. I can't really tell you what makes them so special, but I can go into detail of why we are doing separate spring and shock instead of a true coilover in the rear. So on like a 350Z, a lot of times we'll switch to true coilovers instead of separate spring or shock. But the problem is with the E36s, if you guys remember us welding in reinforcements up there, when you switch to a true coilover, you put even more stress on the chassis, and you actually lose a lot of stroke too. I'm not like fully certain about this, but I guess when you switch to a true coilover on them, because you get rid of that spring bucket arm, you put in a different arm that then runs into clearance issues with the chassis. Chelsea's like one of the most experienced dudes with E36s, and he's been helping out a ton with all the different parts and stuff for this build. And like, that's like not even a question, going separate spring and shock. So we did that. It's gonna be easier to service too if we need to change a spring or something at the track. It's way quicker, but I'm excited. I got the Chelsea Denova special right here. We were actually supposed to test while he was in town, and he was gonna help set up the car, and unfortunately, we didn't get it done in time, but it's all good. One cool thing, the way that Chelsea designed this kit, we're not actually even going to run adjusters on the spring because we need to get it at the exact height that it's intended to be at with all the geometry and everything of this car. So no adjusters, it's just going to drive it at the height that it falls at. We'll see how it looks. Servicing some sliders on the front brakes while I'm doing them. I got a little bit of crud in them, so I'm gonna use the old drill trick. Pop them in the chuck, give them a nice little... Look at that. On drift cars, oil cooler placements can be kind of tricky. There's a lot of pros and cons. We just quickly got this one front wheel on just so we could see roughly where our clearance is going to be. In an ideal world where I'd love to have it would be here, but the problem is it's kind of a sketchy area because when there's impact and drifting, it's usually the front corners. The other option would be to put it up here, but then it's blocking some of the airflow from my radiator, and I rather care more about keeping my car's coolant temps cool than oil temps. So I'm kind of torn. Where are you leaning towards?
This will be better than putting a radiator, so...
But what if it has no airflow there, though?
Right, so just put some slits on the bumper. Get some airflow in it, but...
We could also, too, do the same thing that we did on my Skyline, pop a fan behind it if we need it. We have a couple different options from Mishimoto that we've been toying with just to see kind of what would work best. I think we're leaning towards that one right there right now.
Yeah, because I did mention to Alberto that whichever one we use for the oil cooler, then we could use the other one for the power steering cooler.
True. Yeah. So, the smaller one would make a lot more sense as a power steering cooler. So one cool thing about the SLR kit, it actually has 4 different spots for Ackerman adjustment. So if you look down here, it's a really, really clever design. When you pull off the shank for the tire end, there's 2 little dowel pins, and where you set them in here will change your Ackerman. Ackerman kind of has to do with your toe changes at angle. The standard for drifting, usually people advise like really low Ackerman, and it'll kind of make a car be like wise fabby to where you won't have a lot of crazy toe adjustment when you are like at full lock, and it'll kind of keep those parallel and be faster in drift. Both me and Chelsea prefer cars to have a little bit more Ackerman because it makes the car feel a little more natural and have a little bit more self-steer. So there's 4 different adjustments from SLR. There's like the super drift, like fast drift, the like medium drift, and then there's the like medium road race to like full road race. We do the medium road race, I guess. So that would be basically second to most Ackerman out of all the different settings. My technique, Mike? Remember?
Remember?
Oh. I like teaching in shop class.
MedTech.
Look at that, he's using a vice. What is that?
That's how they didn't teach you how to do it.
I mean, we did, both of us did this side.
Bro, we did. Listen, we didn't have a vice for the longest time. This is a privilege right here. We're trying to prime it, right? So like ECU's all plugged in, and it actually started priming. We're like, it sounds kind of funny. Then I think I'm like, bro, We're checking for like fuel leaks and stuff. There's no fuel in the tank. We drained it.
Of course, there ain't gonna be no fuel leak.
Ignite red. E90. We'll just go and I don't know if I've ever showed this in a video. Mike, check out how fast you fill up a 5-gallon container. You ready?
Yep.
Just leave it rolling raw time. You ready?
Yep.
Stick her in. Dum 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 dum. If you don't shut it off soon enough, it'll overflow and make a huge mess. Ask me how I know. So that's like pretty much full. That fast.
Crazy.
Amazing. Wonderful. So believe it or not, Trevor is with Zach from ECU Masters, the owner of ECU Master USA. And Zach didn't have a laptop, and we needed to make a base map, and I don't really know how to build a base map. Trevor is building us a base map. He just went to tuning school. If Trevor gets this car to start, y'all are gonna have to go like his latest photo on Instagram. Now that's not good enough.
No.
Like his sister's latest photo. I'm not lying, bro. Trevi's custom tuning.
Oh my god.
Hey, what kind of truck you drive? Here's a Trevi. So this kind of complicated, but not so complicated. Because this car's drive-by-wire, it's electronically opening the throttle body rather than just with a cable. So we have to go and calibrate the min and max voltages and like do it manually with Nava holding it open and then me reading what that output also says. But it seems to be working pretty well. You want to test it real quick?
Yep.
What's really cool, if you have like a sequential trans, in theory, you could have it auto blip for you on downshift.
Yeah.
I've never done that, but a lot of people, like on their race cars, they'll actually put electric throttle bodies so they can do that, like a drive-by-wire throttle body. So, in theory, we should be ready to start it, right?
Yeah. Plug in the fuel pump in.
Yeah, because we unplugged that while we were doing that. So you're gonna plug it in. You want to try to fire it?
Yep.
We got oil. We don't have coolant. We don't have intercooler piping. We don't have exhaust.
Just testing.
So it's just a raw fire. Almost.
Wow.
So what's it's just auto shutting off on its own right away? It's getting a lot of intake backfires. We didn't wire the fuel pressure sensor yet, so what we're gonna do is just manually pop in a gauge. These stock run 42 psi, is it, Johan? About 42 psi?
43.5.
It's just looking at being all exact and stuff. So yeah, we're gonna set that because it might have been really lean or really rich, and hopefully it'll run a little bit more. Okay, I'll call you and let you know. Thanks, guy. So we were trying to start it with a pump gas tune, but it's on Ignite. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Trevor!
Heck yeah.
Yo, Trevor's gonna be so stoked.
That's where I drive it. So, the plans with this car, titanium exhaust.
Yeah. That's literally the whole plan for this car. Johan's really good with titanium. So we're gonna do. Are we doing 3" or 3.5? 3" right?
I believe he ordered 3". So.
Yeah. So we'll probably do 3". Probably no muffler. I might end up putting a muffler on it eventually. I haven't decided though if I want to dump it at the diff like a comp car, so I can just back it into walls, or make it come out of the actual end. I kind of like having exhaust tips. What do you think we should do?
It's a race car, so I did this.
You know what I was thinking that we could do? We could use the section from Fidel Cash Flow.
Yeah.
And we could use that turn down.
Yeah.
Because it looks sick, and I'm not going to ever put it on the Chaser because the Chaser sounds perfect. And then we could always V-band it off and have a turn down instead. Because that's just V-band. So the only thing is that it looks kind of small, but I'll hold it up in place. I'm pumped though. This thing's gonna, it's gonna be a good one.
Yo.
Does it look cool?
You gotta do it.
Really?
Yo.
I mean, it would be cool because I have this.
Yeah,
It's not being
we have
used on
that
anything.
piece.
It's gotta be
Yeah,
done.
I will fucking.
Or should we do this?
Oh boy.
Or this? That?
No.
No?
You're getting ahead of yourself now.
What about this? No?
No.
Turn down? For what? For what? And then, like I said, it'd be easy because where's the V-band gonna be? Like right by the diff?
Yeah, right behind the.
So we could easily make a V-band stainless turn down right there.
Right.
So, I mean,
So,
because if you
three.
think about it, tracks with no walls, run the tip. Tracks with walls, no tip. It's crazy. This is Vibrant Titanium. If you've ever had like a Tomei titanium exhaust, you probably think titanium's like really weak and like you can just basically like push a dent in it. Way different with like actual quality titanium.
Yep, I had Tommy
Yeah.
on my Chaser, and this is way better quality.
Yeah. Nothing against Tomeis. They're like rad. What?
I love my Tomei.
They're cool.
They're
Like
good.
they sound
It
great on
fits
the
good.
Z, but like every time you hit a bump, it just like crinkles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because like this is hard. You do that with Tomei, you're like denting it. No offense, Tomei. I think I may have overestimated our capabilities when I told you guys that it would be tuned in the next video, but I still think having it started is a huge achievement with like how much stuff has gone down on this car. I mean, it's got the angle kit now, the coilovers are pretty much done. If I had the other front wheel, I could even like see what it looks like on the ground, which is pretty exciting. So I think in the next video, you guys will see it getting tuned. We'll have to button everything up. All the fab work is gonna get done. And then I just want to remind you guys, the car's interior is definitely gonna get painted. Engine bay, maybe at some point in time. Interior, I just want to wait until we get the car built, get everything figured out, and then do testing, and then pull it apart and paint it. So I don't want to leave the cage raw. I know a lot of you guys are saying that, but from my experience with like raw cleared BMX frames and stuff, you still get a little bit of rust from like moisture underneath the clear, and it just ends up looking junky. So probably we'll do blue. Haven't decided on it fully yet, but hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Make sure thumbs up, and we'll see you soon.
When you said,
I'll give you Mike Trevor's trophy. Thank you, Trevor!